Hey guys, welcome back. If you've been here from the beginning, you probably remember my first video about the artifacts in the Warren Occult Museum. Shameless plug alert, if you haven't watched it, you should go watch it now because it was a good one. But in that video, I did not include probably their most infamous artifact, Annabelle. Reason being, I felt she deserved her own video. So this week, I'm going to tackle the story of Annabelle. So as always, sit back, relax, and let's dive in. In 1970, a mother purchased an antique Raggedy Ann doll from her hobby store, with intentions of giving it to her daughter, Donna, as a birthday gift. Donna was preparing to graduate from college with a nursing degree. She lived in a small apartment with her roommate, Angie. Donna loved the gift from her mother and placed it on her bed as a decoration and didn't give it a second thought. Within days, the girls began to notice there was something strange and creepy about the doll. It seemed to move about the apartment, starting with small movements at first, like a change in position, but as time passed, the movement became much more noticeable. The girls would come home to find the doll in a completely different room with its legs crossed, arms folded, and other times it would be found standing upright on its feet. Several times Donna would leave the doll on the couch only to return home and find it on her bed with the door closed. A month into the experiences, Donna and Angie began to find messages on parchment paper that read, "Help us," and "Help us, Lou." All seemed to be written by a child. Oddly, Donna didn't keep parchment paper in the house, so the question rose, where did it come from? Another night, Donna came home to find the doll had moved again. This time it was on her bed. It became pretty typical for it to move, but Donna just felt this time was different. Fear washed over her when she inspected the doll. She saw what appeared to be blood drops on the back of its hands and chest. Scared and desperate, the girls decided to seek expert advice. They contacted a medium who held a seance. Donna was then introduced to the spirit of Annabelle Higgins. The medium relayed her story to the girls. Annabelle was a young girl that resided on the property before the apartments were built. She was only 7 years old when her lifeless body was found in the field upon which the apartment complex now stands. Her spirit remained, and when the doll came to the apartment, she attached herself to it. The medium relayed that Annabelle felt safe and could trust the girls. Annabelle asked if she could stay with them. They felt compassion for Annabelle and her story, so they gave her permission to inhabit the doll and stay with them. Soon, though, they would find out Annabelle was not what she appeared to be. This was no ordinary case, and definitely no ordinary doll. A man named Lou was friends with Donna and Angie and had been with them since the day the doll arrived. He had never been fond of the doll and on several occasions warned Donna that she needed to get rid of it. Donna didn't listen to him and kept Annabelle anyways, which would turn out to be a terrible mistake. Lou would often wake up from a bad reoccurring dream, but one night it was different. He awoke in a panic, but he couldn't move. He looked around the room but couldn't discern anything out of the ordinary, and then it happened. Looking down towards his feet, he saw the doll. It began to slowly glide up his leg, move over his chest, and stopped. Within seconds, the doll began to strangle him. Paralyzed and gasping for air, Lou blacked out. Lou became determined to get rid of the doll. This was not the last experience they would have with her. Lou and Angie were both at the apartment preparing for a road trip alone, when suddenly rustling noises began coming from Donna's room. The two thought someone had broken in, so Lou went to investigate. He waited quietly outside the door until the noises stopped. He entered the room and turned on the light. The room was empty, with no signs of forced entry. Annabelle was tossed on the floor in the corner. He moved closer to the doll but got a distinct impression someone was behind him. Spinning around, he was quick to realize no one was there. Then he found himself grabbing his chest and was doubled over and bleeding. His shirt was stained with blood. He removed his shirt and noticed on his chest 7 marks appeared, 3 vertically and 4 horizontally. All marks were hot like burns. After this event, Donna was finally ready to explore that Annabelle wasn't just a spirit, but something inhuman and demonic in nature. She contacted an Episcopal priest named Father Hegan, who felt he could not handle the capacity of the situation, so he contacted a higher authority in the church, Father Cook, who then contacted the Warrens. They took immediate interest in the case and contacted Donna. After speaking to the girls in Lou, the Warrens concluded the doll itself was not possessed. It was being manipulated by an inhuman presence. The being manipulated the doll and created the illusion of it being alive in order to get recognition, with its ultimate goal of possessing a human host. They explained the entity was in the infestation stage of the phenomenon, with the next stage being complete human possession. The Warrens indicated had the events played out for another 2 to 3 weeks, someone would have gotten possessed or continued until it killed one or all of the occupants in the apartment. At the end of the investigation, the Warrens had the apartment blessed by Father Cook to cleanse the area. At Donna's request, and as a further precaution, the Warrens took Annabelle with them. Ed placed the doll in the back seat and headed home. In no time, the Warrens felt themselves as the object of a vicious hatred. While driving, the car swerved at a dangerous curve and stalled with every corner, causing the power steering and brakes to fail. Repeatedly, the car verged on collision. Ed suspected the entity was still attached to Annabelle and was the cause for their car problems. He took out holy water and doused the doll in it, then made the sign of the cross over it. The disturbances subsided and they were able to make it home safely. Ed set the doll in a chair next to his desk after they arrived home. They reported the doll levitated several times in the beginning, then it seemed to fall inert. During the following weeks, Annabelle showed up in various rooms in the house. They would often lock her up in the outer office building only to find it sitting upstairs in a chair. The doll also showed a hatred for clergymen. In one instance, Father Jason Bradford, a Catholic exorcist, came to the house. He picked the doll up from the chair and said, "You're just a doll, Annabelle. You can't hurt anyone," and tossed her back in the chair. Ed told him, "That's one thing you better not say." Upon leaving an hour later, Lorraine asked him to be careful and to call him when he got home. Hours later, he called her and explained his brakes had failed as he entered a busy intersection. He was involved in a near-fatal accident, destroying his vehicle. After this, Ed decided Annabelle could not be left out like this. They had a special case built in their artifact room embedded with holy water and scripture for protection. Another incident would soon follow, though. A young couple came to the museum, and after hearing Ed's account of the doll, the man went and began to bang on the case, and asking the doll to scratch him since she can attack people. He was asked to leave, but on the way home the two got into an accident. The man lost control of his motorcycle and went headfirst into a tree, killing him instantly. The woman was alive, but was hospitalized. When asked what happened, she recounted they were laughing and making fun of the doll when he lost control and crashed. Annabelle is suspected to be the reason for this accident. Ed warns you, do not challenge evil, and reminds us that no man is more powerful than Satan. The story of Annabelle has birthed a successful film franchise through the Conjuring universe. Today, Annabelle is still in the Occult Museum, secured in her box, which is blessed regularly. As I previously mentioned, there are currently no tours due to the museum being closed for rezoning issues. They plan to find a new home as soon as possible. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week. I've had this one on my list for a bit now, and since it was requested, I figured I'd go ahead and knock it out. Annabelle is infamous in her own right, and I think the story is just interesting, especially for the time. I plan to cover some other creepy dolls on the channel in the future. But, what do you guys want me to cover next? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I post creepy content weekly, and I enjoy you guys being here, so yeah. Anyways, until then, thank you guys as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!